Rajat for joining us, coming all the way from Ahmedabad, and Vikram Mehta, founder of Empire Weddings. Great. May I request everyone to once again request everyone to kindly take a seat because the session is going to start. All our panelists are going to be here only, and the networking can continue thereon. Ashwin, if you can kindly take a seat. If you can kindly take a seat. Sanket, if you can just request everyone to take a seat. A quick introduction to our panelists who are here. Darshan has had a very interesting career in finance. Again, a request to everybody to kindly put their phones on silent. Darshan was working in UK, and it was the opportunity he had to organize his sister-in-law's wedding, and he and his wife, I think, at least enjoyed the process back then, little realizing what they were going to get into. And his wife was also a finance professional. Both of them decided to chuck their careers in finance, return to their family home in Juhu, where they are now based, to start Momente Weddings. Momente has orchestrated some of the grandest destination weddings in Rajasthan, Middle East, and several other locations. Malta, yes. He'll tell you about the Malta experience. Ekta has been a hotelier. She worked with the Marriott Group, and since over a decade, she has been organizing weddings, not only in India, but overseas. I think in 2024, her second home was Qatar, where she's done multiple weddings at Hilton Salva. Minnat is after her completing her engineering, right? She graduated from the Indian School of Business. She had a job offer from some of the top international consulting companies. But thanks to a project she did on wedding industry, she decided to venture into weddings with Satvachan. Initially, Satvachan was specializing into venue booking, and later they ventured into wedding planning also. I guess being a MBA graduate, she thought initially WedTech was the way, and then realized there is nothing like WedTech yet in India, at least now, and therefore it's all about planning.
No, not really. Wedding planning is like pocket money.
Whatever, yeah.
The money is still in WedTech.
Okay.
How big is your pocket?
Multiple pockets.
Bigger than all of ours.
Rajat Sogani he and his friend and business partner Devang, they run 7X Weddings. And Rajat started his career in public relations and media, and 7X is currently quite the leader in Gujarat as one of the top international destination wedding management companies. They, of course, have clients from all over the country. And one of the largest weddings in Vietnam was orchestrated by him. And in our previous panel discussions, he has shared all about his lovely experiences, both the challenges and opportunities which lie in Vietnam. Vikram is the founder of Empire. Empire is known for having some of the most influential families as well as influencers as their clients. I think most photographers would vie to do a wedding planned by Empire simply thanks to their very glamorous guest list. That's something which is quite synonymous with Empire. Vikram has planned destination weddings all over India, Middle East, and the Southeast Asia. And it's been, in weddings, it's been 15 years or 12 years. Okay. And prior to that, in the event space, where I think you got into it while you were in college itself, Vikram. Started very early, unlike some others who moved on from chartered accountancy and finance, and those who, some like you, who figured fairly early on that there's something like COVID is going to happen, and then we're all going to look forward to events and experiences. So we have a very interesting topic today, and which has picked a lot of interest on, which is where we have put families in focus. And You know, Darshan, am I right that when it comes to weddings, we'll start with Darshan. Can we just have two mics this side? Would I be right that there are some weddings you have done where the couples are completely involved and parents are just not involved? Have you done such weddings?
Yeah.
And have you done some weddings where it's the parents only who are involved?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix of everything.
Oh,
Sometimes
it's still there are those weddings where it's parents who are doing most of the briefing with you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes business families, I think, if you're doing like a business family kind of a wedding, you know, there's a lot of PR and image to be maintained.
Absolutely.
So, you know, families will get involved.
Darshan has said it without mincing words. There are two kinds of weddings in India, right? Business families and non-business families, okay? So how is the decision making different when it comes to venues? Let's say something where parents, a traditional business family, lots of family members, boy and girl, you are meeting less often than parents. How is their decision making on venues different?
So I think the outlook when a bride and groom are kind of running the wedding as compared to like the older generation is, you know, obviously when, you know, the parents, the grandparents are thinking, they are more looking at how's the hotel, how's the food, what they can serve us, how's the service quality, how can we make it more opulent, how can we kind of provide service to our VIPs and stuff like that.
Okay.
And, you know, when the couple is involved, it's kind of a more kind of creating an experience, you know, experiential gifting, kind of doing customized gifting, how to do bespoke entertainment,
So it's
stuff like
very
that.
customized and experience based with the couple.
Yes, I think the families, I think, look at a much more macro level in terms of holistic view, like, you know, how's the food going to be, how big is the buffet, is all cuisines catered to, all guests catered to, stuff like that.
Got it. Ekta, we spoke about how you've done many weddings in Qatar. What is it that the Hotel Hilton Salwa did, which made them, you know, popular with Indian families? I presume these are weddings where the family was very involved, right?
Of course. Mostly all of our weddings, families are invariably involved in it. And when it came to destination, when we first took our clients to Qatar was still not very popular when it came to the GCC segment. And then after that, we took them to a property which is completely opposite side of where the main city is. Like, we are literally 7 kilometers away from Saudi, so that property. So when we took their initial apprehension, but once they step into the property, apart from the fact that they have multiple venues, like you would never, even if you do like a 4-day wedding, you will still not land up repeating a single venue, which is like a delight for all the production people and the planners and the vendors, and in fact the guests also. So each day you get up and each event you have a different venue. But apart from that, the most striking thing that we found that in the property Parthiv was, they never say no attitude. Extremely flexible. You take a client there, you make them sit, they will read the client first. I mean, first hour they don't talk. So we first thought, okay, they're not interactive at all. I don't know how will I sell this property. But then what we realized was they were reading the client, which was very nice. So they read the clients, and then after that, whatever that you're looking at, I don't think they said no to anything. In fact, we had a wedding where we needed early check-ins as early as 6:30 a.m. in the morning for 200 rooms, and it was available, and they gave it to us at no charge. So things like these, understanding the client requirements, it's about money that you take, of course, as per your contract, but then there are other things and flexibility that you look at, which is not involving monetary value, but of course, you giving a lot of value apart from that. So they've kind of aced on it, and anything right from flexibility in food. I remember the first event we did, we were the first people to do an event in that hotel, an Indian event, and they were serving dal in a soup bowl. So we went to them, we said, if I put this bowl in my plate is over, we can't eat no more. So then they sat with our team, with the F&B team, they tried to understand what is there and all of that. By the time we went for the second wedding, they got the dal bowls. And they came up to us the first day, we got the bowls for you, you know. So all of these smaller things also matters a lot. So I think yes.
So there are 3 things which Ekta said about this property. It's about the fact that they have different venues for different functions. Second is, never say no. Just say yes, and I think later on they'll say no, right?
There's always a thin line.
Yeah. And the third is, look at the small things when it comes to food, which make all the difference. And of course, fourth thing I'll talk about is early check-in. Because I know a lot of destinations which don't do well, because if they have an early check-in, most of the flights from, say, a Bombay or a Delhi come in at 6 a.m. and they're at the hotel at 7 a.m. They don't want guests. Whereas for some, I just talking to someone, they said, because it's perfect, Indigo reaches at 10 o'clock, at 10:50, you are there in the hotel. You finish your customs formalities, visa formalities, and you're there at a hotel at 11:30, 12. So finally, sometimes you just wonder what is it about this destination, and sometimes it also bogs down to connectivity more, and that is what you call the secret. Everybody's trying to figure that secret sauce, right? That's one of the things which contribute to it. So we've been talking about elders and we've been talking about the couple. So my question is for you, Minnat. Is it easier to work with the elders or the couple?
So, firstly, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Parthiv, for having me over and deeming me fit for this. Before I actually go to your question, when it comes to Qatar, we actually worked with the airlines. So this flight, which reaches at 10:50, has started now. So we've had this entire scenario where Vistara got onboarded, Akasa got onboarded, because as a destination earlier, we only had Qatar Airways and Air India, where the flight timings was not suitable to the destination. So the destination even worked on getting Indian flights at a time which is convenient for weddings. So that is what you expect as a family, as a planner, as an influencer to that country as well. Coming to your question, which is elders versus youngsters, it depends on the objective. If you want to be creative and you want to sell something for the first time, obviously youngsters buy it for the first go. If it is purely financial, purely, okay, yahan ka khana kaisa hai, flight connectivity, like Darshan said, the macro elements, because when you're booking a hotel, it's easier to convince the youngsters today. They're very pragmatic. They understand when you put your foot down. Parents, for example, Indu has sold Fairmont 2 years ago at 50,000 rupees. Parents will say, but mere chacha ke sasur ne to 50,000 mein kiya tha, ye raha contract. Why am I at 80,000 now? So parents tend to get a little sticky at times. The youngsters understand that, okay, this was 2 years ago, this is happening now, and it is more acceptable to them. So they are a little more pragmatic on that. I do think that at the end of the day, elders are now giving in, ki acha now bachcho ko ye chahiye, so let's do it. So we've been seeing that a lot, that even if they have to stretch out a little bit or experiment on a new destination, parents are more than willing to do that for the happiness of the kids.
So they are less rigid,
Yes.
and whereas the youngsters are more creative. That's how you.
Yeah,
look at
because
it.
the parents are saying, this is the money on the table. Let's get whatever the best we can for the kids. So that's how it's pretty much.
But of
working.
course, and as long as parents continue to foot the bill, it's good news for the industry. So
Absolutely.
that's,
In
right?
fact, now we do have couples saying that, okay, if my parents can go till here, if I need to put additional from my side, we're happy to look at it. But that's far and few.
Oh.
But happy to see that coming in.
Great.
Yeah.
Rajat, it's all about travel and weddings. And our friends in Tanzania are asking us about why not more in Tanzania when the distance is 6 hours only flight and then there's a boat. What do you feel? I think you have two kinds of clients, those who want to travel and those who don't want to travel. Is that the case? Are there some clients who say, listen, I want maximum 3 hours journey or 4 hours?
Now, first of all, there are two sets of wedding. The major set of the wedding is Instagram wedding.
Okay.
Now, the weddings are happening majorly for the Instagram and the stories in the reels.
Okay.
So, the travel need depend on where they will get the best pictures out of it. Okay.
Great.
When you come to a experience of the family, if you go abroad, if you go out of India, definitely they will look forward for not more than 4 hours flight. Because if you see, there are major elderly people who can't hop and hop for more than 4 hours. So still from India, we have weddings majorly going for the Southeast Asia or Dubai or somewhere else.
Where it's less than 4 hours.
Yeah, because they don't want to travel more than 4 hours, maximum 5 hours. That's why, Vietnam is coming up very well. Dubai is booming up. In India, people are trying for Jaisalmer. They are doing too good. So
Jaisalmer and Bangalore, in the last 2 years, have done very well.
There's one destination which is lacking very, very, the Grand Hyatt Cochin is a beautiful destination to do a wedding, but still it's not coming up the way it should be because the connectivity of Cochin towards other part of the country is little poor. So, for example, reaching from Ahmedabad or from Jaipur to Cochin is at least 6 hours to 7 hours via hopping. So, still Cochin is not on the map of destination wedding because of the connectivity. So, I say people do see the connectivity, either 3-4 hours of a road journey or maximum 3 hours of a flight journey. That's the main criteria for them.
Great. Thank you, Rajat. And of course, our friends from Charter X are there. They are always there to give creative solutions if you want to avoid changing flights. Vikram, what has really changed when it comes to the size or the number of guests post-COVID, be it for a destination wedding or a hometown reception?
I mean, I had spoken about this with you earlier as well. I feel the whole COVID wave and even this whole wedding wave of intimate weddings, it's passé now.
Okay.
In fact, it's growing. I see it going to 200, 250 rooms. I don't think India has enough properties to kind of handle that many numbers. So I don't really see that going down, to be honest. It's on the rise. I think, I mean, probably 1 year of apprehension is all that we experienced, and then people are back. So I think a 200 to 250 room size is an average size that I see usually.
And typically, if it's international, how many nights?
I would say, look, I mean, again, the thing is, ideally, an international wedding should be 3 nights, like we discussed about the locations, right? So even if you're doing a Ras Al Khaimah, or you're doing even Qatar, or you're doing Thailand, Phuket, anywhere, because of the direct flight, people still do 2 nights, knowing that people are going to come a night prior, and then they do the welcome dinner the night prior, but they don't take care of the rooms. So I think we see a lot of weddings which are 2 nights with probably a 50 shoulder dates, 50 rooms up and down.
So that's an interesting trend. When if it's a Rajat, do you also find that today, now that we are getting many more invitations to destination weddings, do you feel that a lot of guests also feel that all their guests will not stay on for 3 nights? Is it happening right now for you or for Minnat?
The trend is 2.5 days.
Okay.
The earlier, like now, I'm just adding up the point here. The new number is 250 to 300 rooms.
Okay.
Okay. It was only for 1 year when we were thinking about 80 room, 20 room. But everybody will vouch it now. India needs more than 300 room property desperately. If you count on the fingers, we don't have more than 10 hotels, wedding destination hotel, which are there in India for more than 300 rooms.
And also those will be where there are 2 adjoining hotels. Yeah.
So why JW Bangalore is growing up? Because they offer 300 rooms. Now the Fairmont Udaipur is coming up because of 300 rooms. Okay.
See the opening price though.
I am doing the first wedding in Fairmont Udaipur, so I got the better rates. So yes, now coming back to your question, it's a 2.5 day wedding. The first primary members of 50 rooms we do check in day 0, and then the buyout on the day 1 and day 2. So it's almost 2.5 days of a wedding. So 5 events are the most important aspect of every wedding now.
So you're saying it's 2.5 days, and for you, most of your clients need 250 to 300 rooms, you're saying?
Yeah, now I think everybody will vow destination wedding is new number is 250 to 300 as per what is the current trend
number
going.
of rooms.
Yeah, absolutely yes. Like if you go to any city, if we take a Fairmont also, we need Raffles or ITC or anything else. If we go to Delhi, ITC Grand Bharat with Hyatt. So it's a 300 room we require now.
Okay. Minnat, I was going to, of course, ask you about the shifts. And what you've said is parents continue to pick the tab and the children probably pick a small part of it where their parents don't want to spend.
No, but
right?
I think the end decision is the kids.
Okay.
That's essentially what we've been seeing, that, okay, I like this property more, even if they have to spend a little bit more, the parents are giving in.
Okay.
That's what we've been seeing. So definitely parents do have a pragmatic, this thing, they will want to see, okay, what is a branded name on my card. I mean, those thought processes are still there. But
Yeah, this was a question in the previous thing, that there's some fantastic properties in Mangalore. One of our friends was asking, can you go a little more? That's something for our friend who asked us. Branded names on the cards.
Absolutely.
The brand, which are the brands today which were not a brand? Since you've been you're a marketing specialist too, Minnat. Which were the hotels' names which are not a brand but a brand today because they've marketed themselves? Yeah.
No, so for example, Suryagarh, right?
Yes.
Great example, where it has been a standalone property but a top destination for wedding, to the point that they are competing with Umaid Bhawan and Uday Vilas today. So they are giving a service equivalent to an Uday Vilas or any of your top properties, or a St. Regis or a Ritz-Carlton. But what we are also seeing, coming back to the question you just asked me, Parthib, yes, 250 rooms, 2.5 days, but we are seeing a great trend of pre and post weddings. So if there is something where the families have to settle in and say, ठीक है, हम शादी यहाँ कर लेते हैं, there is a pre and post wedding wave which is very big for us, where about 150 rooms, majorly international is working perfectly well.
And I think going forward, after the families have already done Middle East and Southeast Asia, we are going to probably see more number of pre-wedding celebrations in Europe. Do you agree with me?
For sure, it has picked up. And even, see, Middle East works very well because your food palette matches, your travel time convenience is sorted, the properties have the luxury quotient, they have multiple venues. So it kind of fits a lot of tick mark that happens. For whatever reason, if families are choosing to do a wedding in India, they are doing a post-wedding or a pre-wedding abroad, which is as extravagant as a wedding in India.
Talking of pre-wedding celebrations in Europe, I'll of course come back to Vikram soon to give you these little things on what his clients want when it comes to party spots. But before that, Ekta, how are NRI clients different from Indian clients? You've done both. And this question is for Darshan too, because he has many NRI clients, he himself having lived in UK for so many years. So Ekta or Darshan?
I would give up every single of my Indian clients for my NRI clients.
Sorry, you don't?
I would give up every single Indian client for NRI clients.
That tells you how
I
easy
differ.
they are.
I beg to differ. You want to make money, you want a big fat Indian wedding, it's the Indian. Because the calls are yet being taken by the parents very categorically. Like he said, business families, those are the ones that we usually cater to. They have the money, they want to show the money, they want to splurge the money, and they've made enough to splurge that. On the other end, when we get queries from the NRI clients, it's mostly the couples who are talking. They're the ones who've already saved how much they want for a wedding, 1 million, 2 million. They talk numbers. It's the numbers first. I got a call yesterday. I want a wedding in Rajasthan, but I want the feel of Lake Como. At the price of Silvassa. This is NRI. Okay, on the same hand, when you get the Indian business families, I want a wedding at Lake Como, probably at the price of Lake Como, but I'm willing to spend double for the experience. So let's do 3 charters also and take them there. That's where my Indian family is. So I will never give up my Indian families for NRIs, no. Yes, there are a couple of them. Experience-wise, thank you. Experience-wise, I do understand what Darshan is saying.
Darshan has chosen peace of mind.
Yeah, I know. So
Sorry,
ease of
I
word.
will put my word. I'll put my thoughts forward up.
No. Ease of work, more organized, more focused. They know where to spend, what to spend, how much to spend. You know, they come with an Excel sheet. They're born with an Excel sheet. I had a client who, just to explain to me what kind of a stationery she wanted, she showed me a presentation of 25 slides. That's NRIs to us, you know. And in Indians, half our time is like how arranged marriages are. वो समझते हैं कि उनको क्या चाहिए, में date आ जाती है.
But also I think to sell them a concept is harder because they are not familiar with the pricing in India. So when they come here, they have no idea what Rajasthan costs. They have no idea what liquor
And
costs.
some parents think about
Even artists.
India costs what it was when they left in the 70s.
Sorry, I think fundamentally we think wrong about how NRI weddings work. I'm a finance guy. I think in numbers. I think of hard numbers. If I do an Indian wedding, I'm spending close to 400 hours servicing the client. If I'm doing NRI wedding, I'm close to servicing of them only for 100 hours. So even if I'm making 1/3 the money of a wedding, I can do 3 NRI weddings at the time spent for doing 1 Indian wedding.
Wow.
Which ends up getting me more money.
Priority is peace of mind.
And plus gives it peace of mind.
Maybe per wedding you might get a bit less, but if I got 2 NRI weddings, I would make money off of 1 Indian wedding, and I would still get to go home at 8 o'clock and see my son before he goes to sleep.
Mic drop moment. Yeah.
My NRIs
I'm
wake
ve-
after 9 p.m. in the night
I'm
because they're
very
either
clear.
from US or US or no.
And I'm very clear about this concept of, because I've done the numbers, I've done every single match, because because when I was working in banks, we used to have to clock in every hour. So every hour, it counts. So I count man hours or how many hours I spend on each client. Yeah, Indian clients do 7 tastings and 6 decor meetings and 18 hours of entertainment meeting, and then again they'll come back and say, "हमको तो वही chartist चाहिए." So we spend close to 400 hours, 500 hours. RSVP goes round and round in circles. NRI clients are so clear. This is my guest
Darshan,
list.
do you even have a watch like which have the steps, no? Which count the steps?
I'm sorry, I'm very. I calculate man hours. I calculate my money this way. If it fits, it fits. Doesn't fit,
For
it
us,
doesn't
he's
fit.
an NRI planner because they
And-
all talk only man hours and so does he.
I'm
The
very clear.
biggest advantage of NRI wedding is they are very happy in the small things we do. Indian clients want सबसे बड़ा दिखाओ, ये दिखाओ, वो दिखाओ, and Indian NRI client come with a photo. ऐसा बना दोगे? Yeah, we will do it. Okay, they are happy about it. So we are less accountable in terms of NRI weddings as comparable to Indian weddings.
Also, if my client is not from Bombay, it's a win-win for me. because this year, none of my clients are from Bombay, right? What happens is they come for 2 days, sit for 12 hours, finish everything, and then I'm just doing my back end work, right? I'm not sitting and if I'm meeting a client, अरे रात को 8 बजे घर पे आ जाओ, रात को 9 बजे घर पे आ जाओ. It kind of just, it's too much time. They just take you for granted. When somebody is not over there, they come with an agenda, they sit down, finish it off, and end of the story over there. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. I think very, very interesting perspectives on Indian families, NRI families. But Vikram, Minat spoke about pre and post wedding trending. What is it that your clients are now really looking for when it comes to travel? Of course, Rajat was talking about the limited number of hours, either 3 hours of road travel and 3 to 4 hours of air travel. Yeah, what is
I
it?
think it's again rare, but I mean, you spoke about Europe. I'm doing next month in Italy a wedding, which is a full-fledged 150-room wedding in Florence, and that's with 2 hotels and all of that, with the actual feiras happening there. But that's very rare. I would say usually people prefer to probably travel abroad for a pre or post and then do one wedding ceremony. In fact, not just abroad, it could be in India as well.
Sure.
I mean, and it's again become a run-of-the-mill thing here, but we do so much work in Trident or Regis, at least 1 or 2 functions land up being in Mumbai.
Is it
And-
also something, Vikram, they've been talking about how grandparents,
Yeah.
they are becoming older, right? There was a time when the grandmother was 60 years old, 65 years old. Now they don't want to travel too much. Is that one of the factors?
I'm amazed at how concerned the younger generation is about that.
That's
it's
nice,
pretty
yeah.
impressive. A lot of couples tell me my grandparents are too old, I don't want to do a long travel. In fact, to a point where they might even finish a home ritual just for the grandparents and then travel abroad. But I think within India also, let's talk about the opposite. We are talking about 200, 250 rooms. Like a Taj Chia Kutir, I did a wedding there. Same thing, I did an actual ceremony in India, Bombay, and then I did the whole celebration in 150 people in Taj Chia. It was beautiful in Darjeeling. So I think those kind of properties can also be tapped, and then you can do one big function, one wedding and reception in your hometown, whichever city you're from. So that's something I think may also develop. But having said that, I think what happens in the end with brides, like we're talking Instagram, is they want the mandap and feiras at a proper, location. Yeah. So that's where it eventually lands up being a destination with everything. Or people land up doing Sangeet abroad in their destination wedding. So I think.
So Rajat said there's one is the Instagram wedding and the other one, what is
Sunset wedding, sundowner wedding. Now, out of 25, 30 weddings we do a year, 90% bride and groom comes to us. We want to do a sundowner only because the Bollywood have created so much of hype of sundowner wedding. Now, I guess everybody face the same thing. You go to Jaipur or anywhere, they want sundowner. So sundowner wedding is into new trending right now.
Interesting. And which are the destinations today which are trending when it comes to pre-wedding celebrations, Vikram, which you're getting inquiries for?
I have got quite a few for in Azerbaijan. That's picking up. I would say Phuket is still something, especially after the direct flights. I mean, it's completely knocked out Bangkok and Hua Hin. It's all about Phuket now. I have not done Vietnam, but I'm guessing that's another one. But Europe also, I mean, even Turkey, I think it depends which month you're doing, but people are open to the idea. Again, a lot of them are just dabbling with the ideas, I would say, initially.
Yes, it's that dabble.
And it depends on where they live as well. But I would say those are the ones. And of course, the usual suspects, like I said, the Ras Al Khaimah one, Dubai one. But honestly, I've seen Phuket come a lot for 2025, 26.
Are there direct flights? I think there was a direct flight from Ahmedabad at one point, Rajat. It's there.
Phuket is too much trending right now. Again, they came back again. It was less trending after post-COVID. Now from last 1 year, Phuket is again too much in
to a
demand.
point where there are no dates in at least 7 out of 10 properties from October till March, Feb. It's literally like they're like, I will give you the date. We don't have the dates you want.
Phuket and Krabi. Krabi has come up very well from last 6 months. I think we got 4-5 inquiries where they want to do Krabi, and we are doing next month. So Krabi is also too much hot right now. But Thailand is back.
Thailand is evergreen. Huh?
No, Thailand was, for the up segment market, Thailand was going down, but now Thailand is back.
But
for
the way
pre-wedding
Thailand has
parties.
marketed itself is there's Bangkok and Hua Hin at the entry. Then you have Rayong and Pattaya, which is very close. then you want to go a little, there's the Phuket, then there's Khao Lak, and then you really want to do something really exotic, there's Chiang Mai and Koh Samui.
Also
That's
the
it.
whole
Thailand
visa-free
is
thing.
economical than Jaipur.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Thailand is economical than
Thailand
Jaipur.
is cheaper
People
than
are
Jaipur.
sitting here. So-
Our friends in Jaipur are having a good
Well,
laugh.
people are sitting here. If you really ask all of us, Thailand is still 70% economical now.
But
30%.
we're not talking about Sri Lanka. That's another
Sri
one.
Lanka doesn't
Our
give you a
friends,
feel of-
I just had a meeting with the chairman of the convention board. I mean, a lot of people do see. Sri Lanka has taken off very well post-COVID with solo holidays and all, but for some reason, they can really market themselves. And the biggest advantage they have is both Sri Lanka and Nepal have is that they are international and easy connectivity, right? Less than 2 hours from many
But
destinations.
Sri Lanka is not developing because of the internal road transport system. The internal logistic problem and internal roads are too bad. They are not supporting. You know, they have their own
Good
internal
properties,
conflicts.
but the support system is still weak. We also tried, but the response time, support system is still little lagging. But properties are beautiful. They are hungry. They want business. They're willing to go all across. Even when it comes to food, they are willing to fly Indian chefs from India so that you avoid getting a caterer. So they are all open to it, but I think they need a little bit more support from the system.
And Minnat and Ekta, are auspicious dates still important for your clients?
First comes the budget. So if Fairmont Udaipur tells us, think I'm being, read between the lines. No, so certain segment like the Marwaris still prefer to come with the auspicious calendar and sit down and discuss. But we recently had a client, a Sindhi client, he said, my rate, your date.
How nice. There was
Very
earlier it was Har Din Shubh Hai, it's now my rate, your date.
Yes, very clear. And we recently again got a client, they said, this is my budget. Okay, if you can't give it to me on the auspicious date because you're saying these dates are busy, what if I move it? And they got it in their budget and they were very happily moving it. They said, koi baat nahi, we'll do some puja at home and then we'll come.
Deepak jala lenge niche.
Deepak jala lenge. So yes, it all boils down in the end to the budgets nowadays because like he said, Thailand is cheaper than Jaipur. तो किसी को जयपुर में शादी करनी तो dates move कर लेंगे.
Minnat?
So I think we see a change over there. Earlier, the lead time for any hotel closure was 3 to 6 months. But in this financial year, the number of Muhurat rates have really shrunk. So give and take, you have 8 weddings that any hotel can do between 16th of November to 6th of December. So the good news is most of the hotels in India are now sold out. So Udaipur is completely gone, Jaipur is gone, Goa is completely gone. So the lead time to your hotel bookings, November, December and Feb 2026 is more or less over. So now people are now moving abroad in case the hotels are not available over here.
Both will, Indian weddings in India, wed in India and wed abroad, both will coexist. Like the big fat and the slim and smart
Absolutely,
wedding.
and it
Yes.
will. And we do see a lot of weddings are happening abroad also for Feb 2026. It's become more of a personal choice than wed in India versus, go abroad. But most of the premium properties in India are now sold out for the next financial year. So which is why we see a lot of people now creeping into September, October, or even into June, July. Earlier people were not opting for the summer weddings because they wanted a good weather. But now because they're not getting the auspicious dates available in November, December, they're now booking April, May, June. And hotels are able to give a very good rate to attract a summer wedding. So the lead time to hotel bookings has really improved. That's what at least we feel.
Darshan, we have spoken about how this live experiences economy has just boomed. Now the maximum queries we get on our WhatsApp groups are also for live experiences, whether it is somebody who can do live painting, this and that. But of course, since this topic is on family in focus, we talked about this because you have an associate company which specializes in these live experiences too. How many minutes left? 5? Okay, last 2 questions. What is it interesting stuff which you're doing which is for families at weddings which is coming up?
So, I mean, as with, with experiences, I think with the kind of evolving audiences that we have and, I think there's a point which I've realized in the last couple of years is that now, since as we are growing older, the parents of the brides are coming closer and closer to my age. And I've promised myself that the day I see an Aadhaar card with the father is younger than me, that's my last wedding. Is the Gen Z that have come into the wedding segment, right? So the Gen Zs, who have the mind of their own, and they don't want your typical kind of, run-of-the-mill stuff, and they're very demanding when it comes to the smaller elements. So I think live experiential stuff, I think, has been very critical to any events, So
And
as you-
special services for toddlers and senior citizens, right?
yes, that too as well.
Have you done something where there's a focus on whether it's food or on or elders and toddlers?
Recently we did the most interesting one. I was asked to do, the first meeting was ki you should have the earplugs for all the old age people who will be sitting right in the front of the stage, because they are the most important part of the family, and when you have a Sangeet going on and they have to bear the sound for us.
How interesting.
So
And the same thing should be done for AC also, because I know how elders shiver in ballrooms.
Yes.
As he was
You should
saying,
keep shawls there for them.
As Darshan was saying, Gen Z, because we should take it as a blessing, because the Gen Z generation is really thinking about their old grandparents first, and then they are planning the entire wedding. So yes,
Grandparents first.
Yeah.
That is the mantra for Indian
yeah,
weddings.
because they do that way only.
Okay, final question for Vikram. Would you agree with me when I say planners in the West need to focus on the couple, or they focus on the couple, but in India, and maybe Darshan can also answer that, it's the couple and families or families only?
I didn't get that. I didn't.
When you when it's planners, wedding planners in the West, it's all about what the bride and groom want.
Yeah.
But in India, it's all about understanding families.
Yeah, I think firstly, though, we have to have a certain, deal with multiple temperaments and also deal with, there's nothing like I will not talk to this person. When it comes to money, one father will call. When it comes to Pandit Samagri, someone else might call. Whether they're talking to us or our staff, it's the same thing. I think, especially that, Ekta mentioned that before, like when it comes to weddings within India or Indian families who live here, you have to deal with everyone. To a point where you have your uncles and mamas, also some weddings who get involved. So I honestly actually make it a point to ask at the beginning, before signing, who's going to be involved in the preparation. And I think it's okay to do that. And if I feel too many people are involved, I don't take up that wedding. If I see it's only the couple, especially NRI ones for hours, like he mentioned, I would definitely take into account that only two people are going to probably, whose temperaments we have to deal with.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think when it comes to Indian weddings, I don't think you can separate the family from the couples. I think Indian weddings is such a big thing for everybody in the family involved, and there's a lot of excitement in the family to be involved in some shape or form. And so the full family is involved, but of late I've started seeing that the couples are very clear that while they're happy for their parents and grandparents to be involved, they prefer to keep the uncle and aunts at length, because then their ideas get diluted and they really don't have a say in the weddings, and the Gen Z guys are not want to take anything lying down. So I've seen that though a family is involved, is becoming more and more nuclear in their approach. Sorry for taking.
Okay. Do we have time for one or two questions? Yeah? No? Okay. I think we'll have to do the Q&A offline. I know there'll be a lot of questions, so we won't even be able to stop at one question. But thank you everyone for taking time out during your busy schedule. It's the peak wedding season. Request all of you to come forward for a photo op. First we look at the camera.